In this episode, we turn to a topic that many beginners first picture as annual training slides, reminder posters, or a short warning before clicking a suspicious email. Those things can play a role, but real security awareness is much bigger and much more important than a one-time message or a compliance exercise. An organization becomes more secure when people understand what is expected, why it matters, how to act under normal conditions, and what to do when something feels wrong or uncertain. That kind of awareness does not grow by accident. It is shaped over time through organizational culture and leadership, because people learn security not only from what the policy says, but also from what their leaders reward, ignore, repeat, and model in everyday work. When you hear the topic this way, security awareness stops sounding like a side activity for new hires and starts sounding like one of the ways an organization teaches people how to protect the mission together. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is part of our companion study series. The first book is a detailed study guide that explains the exam and helps you prepare for it with confidence. The second is a Kindle-only ebook with 1,000 flashcards you can use on your mobile device or Kindle for quick review. You can find both at Cyber.News in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. A useful place to begin is by defining security awareness in a broader and more realistic way. Security awareness is not simply knowing that cyber threats exist or recognizing a few common warning signs. It is the everyday understanding that helps people notice risk, make better choices, follow secure habits, and respond responsibly when something unusual happens. That includes understanding how to handle information, how to question unexpected requests, how to protect access, how to report concerns, and how to think about risk in ordinary work situations without becoming fearful or confused. Beginners often assume awareness is mostly about stopping phishing emails, but that is only one part of it. Awareness also touches data handling, physical security, mobile work, conversations in public spaces, use of approved tools, reporting mistakes, and knowing when to slow down and verify rather than acting on impulse. Once you expand the definition, the subject becomes much more practical because it begins to describe how an organization teaches secure judgment, not just how it delivers warnings. Culture is what gives that awareness staying power. Organizational culture is the pattern of values, expectations, habits, and shared behavior that tells people how things are really done, even when no one is reading a policy at that exact moment. A strong security culture helps people understand that protecting information, access, and operations is part of normal professional behavior rather than an optional extra task someone remembers only when an audit is near. A weak culture sends the opposite message, often without saying it directly. It might reward speed while quietly punishing caution, or it may claim security matters while leaders ignore policy when rules feel inconvenient. Beginners need to hear this clearly because culture is often more powerful than formal training. If a training program says to verify suspicious requests but the daily workplace rewards instant compliance without questions, the culture will usually win. Real awareness grows when the environment consistently supports secure choices instead of forcing employees to choose between doing the right thing and fitting in with how the organization actually behaves. Leadership is central to this process because people pay attention to what leaders do, not just to what leaders announce. If leadership speaks about security as important but routinely bypasses controls, dismisses concerns, or treats policy as something only other people must follow, awareness will weaken quickly. Staff notice those contradictions, and once they believe security rules apply unevenly, the entire message becomes less credible. On the other hand, when leaders follow the same expectations, ask thoughtful questions, take concerns seriously, and communicate that security is part of how good work gets done, they create trust and consistency around the message. This matters especially for beginners because leadership is not only the chief executive or the top security officer. Team leads, supervisors, managers, and project owners all shape daily behavior through their tone and decisions. Leadership influences culture every time someone with authority chooses whether to rush past risk, pause for clarification, encourage reporting, or make it clear that secure behavior is a sign of professionalism rather than a burden. One of the biggest mistakes organizations make is treating awareness as a compliance event instead of a behavior-shaping effort. If the main goal is simply proving that people completed a module, clicked through a presentation, or passed a short quiz, the organization may collect evidence of activity without creating much real change. That kind of approach often produces shallow recall and short-term attention, but it rarely builds durable habits. People may remember enough to finish the requirement and then return to their old behavior because the environment around them has not changed. A stronger approach uses awareness to reinforce what secure behavior looks like in actual work. It connects messages to real tasks, real decisions, and real pressures that employees face during a normal day. For beginners, this distinction is important because it explains why some organizations seem to train constantly yet still suffer from careless behavior. Awareness is not effective merely because information was delivered. It becomes effective when people can carry the message into action under pressure, distraction, and routine workload. Another essential part of culture is psychological safety, even though beginners do not always hear that phrase in early security study. Psychological safety means people feel able to ask questions, admit uncertainty, report mistakes, and raise concerns without being automatically shamed, ignored, or punished for doing so responsibly. This matters because awareness fails when employees believe silence is safer than honesty. A user who clicks a suspicious link needs to feel that reporting quickly is more important than protecting personal pride. A staff member who sees unusual activity needs to feel that raising the concern will be taken seriously rather than treated as overreaction. A new employee who is unsure whether a request is legitimate needs to feel comfortable pausing to verify instead of obeying immediately out of fear of looking slow. Culture shapes all of that. When leaders respond to reports with clarity, gratitude, and calm follow-through, awareness grows stronger. When they respond with ridicule or blame, people learn the dangerous lesson that it is better to hide problems than to surface them early. Daily habits are where awareness becomes visible in real life. A culture of awareness is built through repeated small actions such as verifying before sharing, locking screens when stepping away, handling sensitive information with care, following approved channels, challenging unusual requests politely, and respecting role-based access rather than treating all internal information as fair game. None of these habits looks dramatic in isolation, which is why some beginners underestimate them. Yet together, they create a pattern of disciplined behavior that can prevent many ordinary security failures from ever gaining momentum. Awareness is not just the ability to answer questions on a test. It is the habit of doing the secure thing when the moment appears small, routine, and easy to overlook. Organizations that shape good habits do not rely only on fear of punishment. They make the expected behavior clear, repeat it often, and support it through managers, peers, process design, and everyday reinforcement so that secure behavior becomes normal rather than exceptional. Communication plays a major role in making those habits stick. Security messages are far more effective when they are clear, relevant, repeated, and connected to the language people already use in their jobs. If communication is vague, overly technical, or disconnected from daily reality, employees may treat it as something meant for specialists rather than something they are expected to apply themselves. Strong awareness communication explains not only what to do, but why it matters and how it connects to the organization's work. It also recognizes that people need reminders in more than one form over time rather than assuming one message will permanently change behavior. Beginners should notice that good communication is not the same as flooding people with warnings. Too many generic warnings can create fatigue and make important messages easier to ignore. Better communication respects attention by being practical, timely, and specific enough that people can connect the advice to real choices they make, whether those choices involve data, devices, physical spaces, approvals, or unusual digital activity. Awareness also becomes stronger when it is tailored to roles instead of being delivered as one identical message to everyone. Different employees face different kinds of decisions, different kinds of information, and different types of pressure in their daily work. A person in finance may need awareness around fraud requests, approvals, and sensitive records. A person in human resources may need stronger awareness around personal information handling and access boundaries. A technical administrator may need awareness around change discipline, privileged activity, and accountability. A frontline employee may need more support around customer interaction, suspicious messages, and approved channels. When awareness reflects the role, It becomes easier for people to recognize that security is part of their job rather than a generic corporate topic floating above them. For beginners, this is an important lesson because it shows that real awareness is not just broad education. It is also contextual coaching that helps different parts of the organization understand how security risk enters their specific work and what strong behavior looks like there. Managers and middle leaders deserve special attention because they translate broad expectations into daily work patterns. Senior leadership may set the tone, but direct supervisors often decide how much time employees feel they can spend verifying unusual requests, reporting incidents, reviewing permissions, or following procedure carefully when deadlines are tight. If a manager treats security steps as obstacles that slow down productivity, staff will absorb that message even if the official policy says security is critical. If a manager reinforces verification, models patience under pressure, and praises people for speaking up when something looks wrong, awareness becomes more credible and more durable. This matters because culture is reinforced through local experience as much as through organization-wide messaging. Beginners benefit from hearing this because it explains why security awareness can feel strong in one team and weak in another inside the same company. Leadership is not abstract. It becomes real in each team's habits, decisions, and responses to everyday moments of uncertainty, urgency, and potential risk. Measurement is another part of the picture, but it should be understood carefully. Organizations often want to know whether awareness efforts are working, and that is reasonable, but measurement should go beyond counting who completed a course. Completion tells you that content was delivered, not necessarily that habits improved. Stronger measures might include how often suspicious activity is reported, whether reporting happens faster, whether policy-related errors are decreasing, whether access handling is improving, or whether teams show better understanding in realistic exercises and conversations. Even then, numbers should be interpreted thoughtfully. A rise in reporting may indicate more problems, but it may also indicate healthier awareness and stronger trust in the reporting process. For beginners, this is useful because it shows that awareness measurement is about observing behavior and culture, not just collecting attendance. The organization should ask whether people are noticing more, responding earlier, asking better questions, and behaving with more consistency, because those changes reveal whether awareness is becoming part of real work rather than remaining a formal requirement on the side. Remote and hybrid work make culture and leadership even more important because employees are no longer learning security habits only in a shared office where behavior is easy to observe and reinforce in person. When people work across homes, travel locations, coffee shops, temporary spaces, and digital collaboration platforms, awareness has to travel with them as a mental habit rather than depend on a physical workplace reminder. Leadership and culture help make that possible by reinforcing secure expectations regardless of location. People still need to protect devices, verify requests, respect approved tools, handle sensitive conversations carefully, and report concerns promptly even when no manager is physically nearby. This matters for beginners because it shows that awareness is portable when culture is strong. A weak awareness program may collapse once employees leave the office environment because it relied too heavily on physical oversight. A stronger program builds understanding and habits that remain active across different work settings, which is essential in modern organizations where the boundaries of the workplace are much wider than a single building. Security awareness also needs to survive stress, change, and disruption, because that is when organizations are most likely to reveal what their culture truly supports. During mergers, urgent projects, staffing shortages, incidents, or major technology change, people may feel pressure to move quickly, improvise, and skip steps they normally follow. If awareness has been shaped only as a calm day routine, it may weaken under that pressure. A stronger culture prepares people to understand that security matters even more during change, because confusion and urgency often create the exact openings that attackers, errors, and internal mistakes take advantage of. Leadership becomes especially visible in these moments. Leaders can either send the message that process and verification are disposable when things get hard, or they can show that careful handling, communication, and reporting are still expected even during disruption. Beginners should hold on to this point because strong awareness is not proven when everything is easy, It is proven when people continue making responsible choices while uncertainty, speed, and pressure are trying to pull them in the opposite direction. Over time, the most mature organizations stop treating security awareness as a campaign and start treating it as part of professional identity. Employees begin to see that protecting information, questioning suspicious activity, reporting quickly, following approved paths, and handling access responsibly are not special tasks added onto their job. They are part of what it means to do the job well. That is the real achievement of culture and leadership working together. Culture makes secure behavior feel normal, expected, and shared. Leadership makes that culture visible, believable, and stable through example and reinforcement. For beginners, this is the deeper point worth carrying forward because it explains why awareness cannot be fixed by better slides alone. What matters most is whether the organization is teaching people how to think and behave in ways that protect the mission every day, including when no one is reminding them in that exact moment. When awareness reaches that level, it becomes far more resilient and far more useful than simple compliance training ever could be. As we close, remember that shaping security awareness through organizational culture and leadership is really about teaching people how to act responsibly together, not just teaching them how to remember a few risk terms. Awareness grows when employees understand what secure behavior looks like in real work, why it matters, and how to respond when something feels uncertain or wrong. Culture gives those lessons their daily environment by making secure behavior normal, visible, and shared. Leadership gives those lessons credibility by modeling them, supporting reporting, reinforcing good habits, and refusing to treat security as optional when speed or convenience increase. Once those two forces begin working together, awareness becomes more than training. It becomes part of how the organization thinks, communicates, and makes decisions. That is why this topic matters so much for beginners. It shows that strong security does not depend only on technical controls. It also depends on whether people are guided, supported, and led in ways that help them protect the mission with confidence and consistency every day.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit BareMetalCyber.com.